So it occurred to me that it might be good to say a little bit about wisdom, because we live in a very technologically advanced environment, and one of the upshots of that is, of course, that we know how to do an awful lot of things. In fact, our choices are increasingly being limited not by what our capacity is to do, but in fact by what we desire to do, which is an incredible thing. It means that really the world is at our fingertips, and the hard part is working out what will we do and what will we decide not to do because we don't have time. And I think that's where wisdom comes in, because when you're faced with so many options, the challenge is to know which option to choose. And that's not an easy thing. If you've got screeds and screeds of data in front of you, as indeed there is increasingly in our world, how do you know which data to look at and how to value it? How do you know which things are important and which things are just there? So wisdom is the capacity to think about why is something important and how is it important and wherein do we find life. So where do we find things like wisdom? And it's interesting because the ancient Greeks had their myths, and religious groups have their sacred writings, and you find that mostly wisdom comes not in the form of convenient little specific and technologically particular verses. It nearly always comes in the form of stories, and this is because really good wisdom, timeless wisdom, needs to be applicable in a range of circumstances, in a range of cultures, in a range of times, and the best way to contain that kind of information is in a story. It's also a little bit problematic because it means that there's multiple ways of interpreting the story, and that's what you see in so many religions, that people come to the same text, the same story, and they find so many different things in that story. But in the story you will find that there are truths being told and illustrated, and if it's really good wisdom, mostly our hearts will know that. Mostly there'll be a sense of, yeah, that's true. There's something about what's being said here. So there are some things that of course are much harder to come at, some things that require us to really think through what's being said and what the principles are in the story. But one of the things I've come to really appreciate about my own tradition, the Judeo-Christian tradition, and the stories that are in the scriptures in that tradition, is that they constantly lean towards being life-giving. Even though you will hear a lot of bad press about Judaism and Christianity and probably every other religion as well, and I'm not saying that all of that bad press is not appropriate, because lots of really heinous things have been done in the name of religion, just as lots of really heinous things have been done in pretty much every other name as well. But if you look at the stories, by and large, they are the stories of a God who continues to reach out to people who are doing things in the same old way, and challenges that way with the idea that there might be a better way. There might be a way that brings more life to more people in a more thoroughgoing way. And it's hard for us to believe that. We often work with zero-sum situations where we think it's either you or me, and it's hard for us to conceive of a thing that there might be something that's good for you and me, and together we could actually make it even better, not just for you, not just for me, not just for both of us, but for everybody. And I think that's what's in the stories that we have in the Judeo-Christian tradition. So I love that wisdom. It fills me with hope. It guides my decision making often. Oh, better not cross the road in front of a car. That wouldn't be very wise. And it inspires me. it inspires me to keep doing things that bring life to people. And I think that's where the wisdom is. So that's a bit about wisdom. You might have some other ideas about wisdom, and I'd love to hear them. But for me, for now, God bless, stay faithful, be wise.